I just wasn't capable of doing it on my own power because I was still operating from my own power. I wasn't going to God. I wasn't like praying. I wasn't working with other people. I wasn't doing these like very simple things that are asked of us to do. I started to become resentful. The resentment stacked up. I started to like remove myself. I started to take back my will, and I started to like make decisions out of fear. And then that's how I got to the place where I was, where I hit that emotional bottom.
Right.
And I didn't know how to really ask for help. And I just felt like I had to completely start over. And fortunately, I didn't drink or take a drug, because that probably would have, I don't know what would have happened. It's Russian roulette when I take a drink or a drug, you know?
Last time, said it'd be the last time, but now I'm spiraling down. Last time, I said it'd be the last time, but now I don't know how, why I ended up here with a cig in my hand and a bottle of beer now.
Welcome to Come Back, Kid. I am here with Sarah. I am so excited to see you.
I know, I'm really excited to see you too.
Yeah, this is really fun.
I'm a little nervous because I have never been on a podcast before, but it's you, so I'm excited, and I have a lot to talk about in this area.
Totally. The first time I did this podcast, I had never been on a podcast before, so...
So you were like, yeah.
Yeah, but fair. Get into it. Okay, so I want to start with how we met.
Okay.
Because it's such a good story. For me, it was one of the most remarkable moments in my life, like truly. For you, you're probably just like going to a party, going about your business, but for me, it changed everything. So
oh my God.
I was with a friend, and we heard of this party in Topanga. We were in LA. We heard of this party in Topanga, and I was like, why not? Let's go. Like, whatever. I was still like drinking heavily at the time. And I show up, and we're, hanging out, drinking. We're sitting in a circle, and there's a joint being passed around. And I'm sitting next to this, like, really beautiful, really cool girl. And the joint comes her way, and she says, no, I'm good. And passes it.
I don't even remember that. But they were all stoner. Well, I was with Zach.
Yes.
Which I, don't even know how we went to that party. I don't know whose party it was at all.
I think it was his party somehow, but...
it was, a weird writing. It was, weed sponsored or something. I don't know, because he's, a weed guy. I don't know.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
You
you
pass the joint. Yeah. You pass the joint around.
Yeah.
And I was just like... I asked you, so you don't smoke weed? And you were like, no. And I was like, but you drink, right? Obviously. And you were like, no. And I was just like... what? A young, cool girl, doesn't drink and smoke. And I was just like, what is going on? So I continued drinking. I got pretty drunk. And then you offered to drive me home. And I remember listening to music in the car on the way home. And I just started asking you questions. I was like, so you don't drink? What's that like? And you told me about your recovery. And I was still drunk at the time. And then I got home, and I woke up, and we exchanged numbers. And I was just like, I just knew you were supposed to be in my life. Yeah. And I was just like, I texted you, and I was like, I think I want to try this recovery business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how it all started.
Totally.
It's and 7 years ago.
That's so crazy. And then did we go to a meeting with Carrie White?
Oh, Carrie.
Was it that time? I don't remember.
I said I wanted to go to a meeting, and you picked me up. Yeah. You took me to a meeting. God came into it, and I freaked out, and I ran out.
Right. But it was Saturday, wasn't it? It was the women's meeting.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was the Carrie meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I it's so funny, too, how we get so kind of, things become normalized. Do you know what I mean? It didn't even occur to me at that point that, God freaks people out, And then it's, as, the years have gone on, and I have, whatever, just, gone through different experiences, I'm like, oh, yeah, some people have a real, issue with the idea of the higher power. Or, I say God for a lack of a better word, but it's just, the universe, like spirit, whatever you want to,
100%.
you know. But in the beginning, when it's just like God, you're like, oh, hell no, not like some guy with a staff. Like, fuck that. Like, I was like, I don't know. I mean, I think I was so fucked up when I first went to a meeting that, like, I couldn't even hear anything that they were saying.
So what was it like when do you remember the first meeting you ever went to?
Yeah, I had a similar experience to when you met me. I went to this woman who did holistic facials, and she's really cool and was like tatted up and so just like, I mean, she was like glowing, and I was sort of mesmerized by her energy, and she was so kind and just easygoing. And for whatever reason, I felt comfortable talking to her. And I usually would like show up either strung out or like hungover whenever I'd get a facial from her. And it was like one of those little not weird moments, but just like the false kind of like starts where I was like, I'm not drinking right now for like whatever it was, or like 3 days, you know? And she's like, oh, you seem like you're really rested and stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not drinking right now, but, you know, I don't really know how to not do it because everyone I know drinks and does drugs. So I'm, you know, and she's like, oh, I don't drink or do drugs. And she's in this really casual way, you know, she's like getting something off like the table and gonna put like a honey mask on my face or whatever. And I was like, you know what I mean? It was like, skirt? What?
Double
like,
take?
Yeah, no, literally. And I was like, what do you mean you don't drink? Because I'm like, this girl's like a punk rocker, you know? I was like, what is she talking about? And she's like, yeah, I don't drink. I go to these meetings and yeah, we don't drink. There's like a lot of people that are like me and are young. And I was like 20, maybe she was 30. And I was like, okay, well, you know, like, how do I sign up? Like, where, you know? And she's like, you don't need to sign up. Like, I'll just take you. And yeah, she took me to a meeting a few days later. And then I was so just like, I didn't ask any questions because I was like so terrified. I was like constantly in fear and like frozen by my own anxieties and like whatever, like, you know, the all of the like story that I had in my mind that was like separating me from people and like being like a functional person in the world. And so like I didn't even ask like where, if I could go like about like do you go to other meetings? Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't even have any functionality. And so I just like assumed that I had to wait until the next week to go back to that exact meeting. Like I didn't, do you know what I mean? Like I just had no sense of any kind of 12-step anything. And I just I didn't know how it worked, and I didn't ask any questions. I was just like, you know, even just going felt like some crazy thing for me at the time.
So it kind of stuck, like, how, because I actually don't know this part of your story.
Yeah.
How many times did it take, or did you go back out? Was that it? Were you, like, in?
I honestly don't really remember. Like, I was just so kind of like on and off and in and out for like a while. It was very cloudy the first maybe like 4 or 5 months that I started going to those meetings. And then like, I don't know, like I got a sponsor, but I didn't call them, you know, like the kind of the classic thing. And then I actually like didn't ask anyone about this for a really long time, but I drank mushroom tea and like went to the Natural History Museum with some guy that I was seeing for like 5 minutes, you know what I mean? And then like later on, after being sober for a while, I was like, oh, I have to change the date because I actually wasn't sober in that time. Like it was just, I was so disconnected from reality for like that whole era. I think I really didn't even have like my wits about me until I was a couple years sober. I also was like really over medicated in early sobriety, but that's like a different story, you know. But yeah, I think I definitely never drank again after I went to that first meeting. But I like,
oh, you never drank again?
I never drank again after I went to that first meeting, but I definitely did drugs. Like that part took me, you know, again, like if you don't ask any questions, like it didn't even, do you know what I mean? Like it didn't even occur to me that like, yeah, I think a lot of people have this experience too, like where they're like, oh, but you could like smoke weed, or you could like do mushrooms, or you know, like pills. Like it's like such a, it depends, right? Like how much information you have about your addiction. Like I was going into it and I didn't know anybody who was like, you know, openly like I'm an addict. I mean, I now looking at my life, like I know a lot of high functioning addicts and alcoholics that were like all in my whole life growing up and stuff. But I just had no understanding of 12-step or any of the addiction stuff. And like, you know, I didn't go to rehab. I just had no like language for it, I guess.
So when did the language begin to develop?
I mean, I think it was just like months and months and years of going to meetings, you know what I mean? And it's slowly, for me, it was like a very slow process. Like it started to seep in. And the first like 5 years, you know, it's like I did the steps, but like I don't think that I had a spiritual, I mean, not that I don't think, I know I didn't have a spiritual experience. Like I know that my life didn't change in any kind of dramatic way, but it was like I was such a bad addict that the victory at that point for me was just staying sober. You know, like that was a life beyond my wildest dreams to a certain capacity, you know?
100%.
And I think it's also, I mean, like, you know, too, because it's just like when you're young, you don't even know what's supposed to be normal because you're just growing up and you're having all these new experiences for the first time and doing them sober, like, it still was messy, I guess, if that makes sense. You know?
Right, because you're still like in your early 20s, right? At this point.
Yeah. And just like not, and still having a lot of the same dysfunctional behavior that I did in addiction, in sobriety, you know? Like I certainly did not have the experience where it was just like I did the work and then my life changed, you know? But if I'm honest now and in retrospect, it's just like, I think I was just as thorough and as honest as I could be, and not at that time in my life, and like with the information that I had and the understanding. And it's just like it took getting to like a really big emotional bottom at 8 years sober to like be at the precipice of like, okay, I don't want to drink and I don't want to use drugs. Like I don't think that that's going to fix anything, but I think I'm going to kill myself if something doesn't change.
Can you talk about that?
Totally. I had to like really, I was also like so delusional. Like I thought that I was like essentially recovered, except for that like I had, you know, issues with like I wasn't able to like figure out my career, you know, like but I like thought that I was like, oh yeah, like, but I'm like a good, you know, I really, you know, like I sponsor people and I go to the meetings and I do all the stuff that they tell me to do. But it was all just like, I was like very delusional about it. But like with the understanding that I had, do you know what I mean? Like now I look back and I'm like, oh, I didn't know what I didn't know. And sometimes I think it takes longer for people and having like a certain level of desperation. And when I had that emotional desperation, I was like, okay, like I'll do anything. And meanwhile, like one of my friends for like a year and a half before that happened, she was like, hey, listen, I really think that you should do the work this way and you should try to talk to this person and try to have this experience that I've had. And I was just like, yeah. And then I did get to that point of just absolute like surrender. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm desperate. I can't live like this anymore. In the same way that I felt, you know, with my addiction, which was just like, I can't live like this anymore. And that whole experience made me realize so much that, again, like the alcohol and drugs were just a symptom to the way that my mind works, and they were like a solution for that. And like since I hadn't had a spiritual solution to the way that my mind works, I inevitably like wreaked havoc on my life, the people in it, and you know, in a way it was like almost more dysfunctional than when I was like in addiction. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and I really came to realize that like I had a spiritual problem. I did not have a drug and drinking problem. I had a spiritual problem. And it was like, oy vey, okay, like having just so much open-mindedness to like believe the things that they were saying to me the same way that I did when I came in. Like, and I really experienced that miracle of that obsession to drink and use being removed from me, right? But like I still had the obsession and fear and all that stuff in all these other areas. And it's because I didn't allow this like higher power to really come in and take care of me in all of those other areas. And I had to like do the work and clear out, I don't know, like really like in the third step that, you know, it's just like believing that like I would be taken care of by this higher power, by this God. And like I had to really like look at all of the wreckage that I had caused and like become willing to be like really thorough with that stuff, and also believe that like it wasn't going to be me that was going to figure it out anymore. Like I was going to be moved by God to have like all of those defects and all of those things like taken from me. If that makes any sense.
This sounds like exactly like what I need right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think that, again, it's just like, you hear this, it's just like sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, and like, I couldn't hear it until I could hear it, like, from my friend who had had the same experience at 12 years sober, you know, and from, like, Carrie White, who also said that she, you know, she was, like, I don't know, 15 years sober, and then she came to start doing the work in this way and going through the book in this very like thorough way. And it changed my life. It changed everything for me, you know? Mm-hmm. And then it's just like, and then you realize it's just crazy shit. Like you know, Bill talks about in his story where he's just like, we're going to be rocketed into the fourth dimension. And I'm like, oh yeah, like doing the steps is just like clears the channel so that like, really the spirit of the universe can come in and just like do all of these amazing miraculous things for us. And like I don't know, from that I've gotten into like all kinds of stuff, like I don't know, like Sufism and Kabbalah and all this mysticism and like Neville Goddard and just all of this like idea that we're the co-creator with God, and like that thing in which we seek outside of ourselves is actually within. And like we can hear it right 1,000. I mean, I heard that so many times. Like it's just like, yeah, you have to seek God and whatever, da 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 da. And it's just all became so mechanical until I had this spiritual experience by thoroughly doing the work, which I had been unwilling to do before. Like I was like, okay, amends, but like I don't really want to make the financial amends. Like that's like, does that really matter that I like stole stuff from Whole Foods? Like who the fuck really cares about that? You know what I mean? Like that. And it's just like all of these, right? Like how you do one thing is how you do everything, and everything sort of adds up, you know, and kind of like creates the mosaic of your reality.
I love that.
And it. But by the way, like this stuff seemed so impossible to me. Like for the longest time, I didn't even have the willingness to just like sit down and write about all of it, you know, and get it out. It's just like, this is like, you know, was like a really painstaking journey. You know, it didn't happen in a day. This is like me talking about this at, you know, 11 and a half years sober.
Right.
And thank God that I stayed sober for all of that time in order to be able to like have this experience now. But, you know, I can't say that I'm grateful that it's all played out the way that it has. But like, I mean, it would have been so much easier if I had just done it this way from the beginning. That's what I tell everyone I sponsor. I'm like, just do the work. Just try to just believe what I'm saying, you know?
100%. Yeah.
Easier said than done, though. You know?
How many people are you sponsoring right now?
9.
Sarah?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, okay, this is the other thing, right? I was just like, oh, yeah, like, sponsoring people, like, cool, that's cute, you know, like, of course, that's what you do. Like, I was, like, on board with doing what everyone told me to do, but, like, I didn't understand the why of anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and now I really see that again, in the book, they talk about our little plans and designs. Like, that's really cute. And I just thought, oh, I'm too busy for this. I don't have time for this. And it's just like, I have more time than ever, and I'm busier than ever, you know?
Yeah.
And there is a real joy that comes in seeing someone else have the same experience that I've been gifted. You know, like a real joy. And it's the point of the whole thing. The reason that we have meetings, we don't have meetings to like talk about, you know, we have to take our cat to the vet, or like my boyfriend is, you know, acting like this, or, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people go there and they just like complain and talk about themselves. It's just like, babe, this isn't like your therapist office. This isn't like your bestie on the phone. Like, we're here because people are looking for a solution and we need to offer it to them. Like, we meet so that the newcomer may find us and find this spiritual solution. You know, like, essentially we are taking people through these steps in order to, like, radically change their life. Like, what is actually available to us is this true freedom, but, like, that's not a focus enough, you know? Like,
Yeah.
that's actually, and I think it's a combination of, you know, as, like, time goes on, we get further and further away from, like, the purity of the thing, you know, and its original intended purpose.
How do you mean?
I mean, I think about that with, like, religion. Like, I think, like, prophets or whatever, like, their idea was not for all of these people to have these, like, really rigid, crazy, weird beliefs about how to do everything and, like, not actually have any of the, like, internal experience of, like, being reliant on God. We've just gotten, like, further away from the purity of, like, what that's supposed to mean, you know, like what the actual steps are. It's, like, this really simple thing, and it's just, like, that's a beginning. Like, going through the steps is, like, a beginning that, like, brings you to this, like, insane freedom and this, like, living in the fourth dimension, you know?
That's so beautiful. And I
Like-
feel like exactly what I needed to hear right now, which is crazy.
Well, that's great. But, like, I mean, we can, like, go into, like, full detail about this. Or, I mean, right now or, like, later.
This podcast is sponsored by Toast. Toast beverages are alcohol-free sparkling beverages made with all natural ingredients, including white tea, white cranberry, and ginger. Crafted by a team of culinary experts, Toast imparts the characteristics often found in alcoholic beverages, only without the alcohol. Equally as satisfying as a daily refreshment as it is paired with fine dining, Toast creates meaningful and refreshing drinking experiences that are perfect for every occasion. Whether it's a large gathering or a celebration at home, Toast can be enjoyed anytime, anywhere, by anyone. Well, I mean, yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, cool. So basically, like, the way that I have gone through the book is a way that, you know, they originally went through the big book by, like, turning things into questions, like, turning, like, statements written in the book into questions. And it's just been, like, this more thorough and rigorous way, you know? So it's just, like, for example, it took probably, like, 3-4 months to do the first step, you know? And I would say, like, to do, like, it took, like, almost a year to get to my fourth step. And the way that they do the fourth step in this kind of way of going through the book, it's very, very, very rigorous. It's just, like, you go into detail, you know, in the third and fourth column. And, you know, I had very different ideas about what resentments were, you know. I didn't realize that it could literally be, like, I'm resentful at this person because they didn't say hello to me first at a party. Like, I got really petty and in-depth, and I started to have all of these things. And when I was reading the fifth step, which, like, by the way, took, like, 6 months to read because I was sitting and reading this for an hour and a half, you know, because we'd go through 3, 4, 5 resentments max, you know, at a time and really go into detail on all these things. And then you start to see the false narrative, the story that you've told yourself, right? And we see, like, not only our part in it, but how that has actually really been, like, we've been in a prison of our own making, you know? Like, I had so many delusions about who I was and, like, what life was, and they were all created from my fear. And there's just such a freedom that occurred in looking at all of that stuff in this really in-depth way. And then also, like, this complete trust and absolute certain faith that God was going to move me to a new place. And I was told to say this prayer called the set aside prayer, and God help me set aside everything I think I know about plug it in XYZ, everything I think I know about going on this podcast, everything I think I know about you know, I don't know, like, you, like, literally you can, like, put any single thing into it, and, like, that I'm going to have a new experience, like, it helped me to have a new experience. And new meaning like something that I've literally never done before,
Uh-huh.
that I have never felt before. And that was so like, it was like algebra, you know, the algebra meme. Like I was like, what? Like I was like, I don't, okay, fine. Like I give up. Like I have no better ideas.
Yeah.
I have no better ideas. I'm out of them. And I just did whatever the fuck they said. I just did it. I was like, okay.
But you kind of have
painstakingly.
You have to get there to get there. Like you have to be a place of like, holy shit, I'll do anything.
Oh, it
to
was
actually
like
do it.
Extreme emotional desperation. Like every other day, I was just like, I'm gonna just jump off the roof. Like I can't live like this. Yeah, I just felt like I was like, if this is what sobriety is, if this is what my life is, like it's not worth it. Like this is not like I did not get sober for this. Like this is not how things are not going how I want them to go. Right? And like we can't always get what we want, but I also really believe that our dreams and these inspirations that we have, they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And I mean, now this is like far out there stuff that has nothing to do with like, it doesn't have nothing to do with it, but it's like not AA approved ideas or literature or anything, whatever. I mean, I'm not even probably supposed to be talking about AA on a podcast, but that's a tradition. But whatever, okay. I'm not. I think anonymity is really important, but I'm not anonymous. Uh-huh. I'm really open about my sobriety. Yeah. And I think that that's a personal choice, you know?
Yeah, what do you think about that? Because we do talk about AA on the podcast.
Well, okay. Where I think it gets a little complicated is if you have a public persona and you are like somebody who's in the public, mm-hmm. I don't know, like you're famous or whatever, like mm-hmm. I think that it can get a little bit messy because a lot of times it'll be like people that are like super famous and they're like getting sober and then they're talking about it and then they like relapse and then somebody will see that and be like, see, like AA doesn't work, or like, you know, then there starts to be like that this person, who this person is personally reflects upon AA, right? And that's like why that's part of the traditions is that like, you know, what is it? Anonymity at the level of radio, press, television.
Press and television.
They don't have podcasts yet. But no, but I'm really open about it and I think that it's a personal choice and yeah, but I do see where it can be dangerous because of that reason. Because, mm-hmm. you know, like, somebody might be like, oh, well, like, I don't know, somebody really controversial. Like, Donald Trump, like, if he was sober, people would be like, fuck sobriety. Do you know what I mean? Or, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, or it could be, like, on the opposite end, too, you know? Like, that's, like, we stay out of controversy, public controversy, too. So, I do think that is valuable and important because you know, what AA is for is like it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, like you're welcome and like we're gonna help you. And mm-hmm. like that's the thing that's really beautiful too. Mm-hmm. Is there's a lot of people who I do not agree with them personally, like how they behave in the world, their political views, their whatever, but like some of those people have really saved my life in certain moments.
Can we talk about that? Because I think that's fascinating because I personally have like when it comes to certain political issues, I have a very hard time forgiving people or mm-hmm. being okay sitting next to somebody, or which I know is my own problem. But how do you embrace that kind of like warmth towards everyone in the rooms?
Well, I couldn't before on my own power. Like when I'm like, this is like from Sarah's power. Like I'm not capable of doing that. Mm-hmm. Like I'm in my head, I'm like this fucking scumbag, this this, that, and the third. But like when since I've had a spiritual experience and I've been moved by God, like I really genuinely have so much compassion for every person. And I just see mm-hmm. like the love and light in them and like look at them as, this sounds like mad corny, but it's just like literally God's children, you know? But like
that's beautiful.
But again, I can't, that's not me. Uh-huh. That's like when I clear all this, when I do all of this work and mm-hmm. God moves me to this place. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how I know that this stuff is real because mm-hmm. I just never thought that I would be, there's so many things that I thought I would never be okay with and could never accept and would never be able to have clarity about and peace around that I do. And I didn't do anything. I was moved to that place by clearing this channel so that I'm connected with a higher power, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, that's where I'm just like, whoa. And I would hear people talk about that, and I would just kind of be like, you know, like, okay, maybe for them, but not for me.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. But that's a good place to be, because it's just like, it's kind of just like, again, they talk about, you know, just the key to open the door, right? And if you just have this key and you put it in the door and you open the door, then the door is unlocked. And that's all you need, is that tiny little willingness to, like, be able to, like, open it up. And then it's just like, it's like Narnia. It's like, once you do the work, like, it's like, poof, this crazy whole world is available. And it's just like, the journey that I've had over the last, you know, 11, 12 years is just like, I was like, it couldn't be me, right? Like, I'm in disbelief often that, like, I have been moved to such amazing places. And it also, like, brought me to a recent place, like, where I realized, like, how much my lack of faith had affected me in all these other areas of my life and kept me, like, again, like I was talking about earlier, like, imprisoned. You know what I mean? By, like, I thought that life worked like this, and I had very certain ideas about how things were supposed to go for me and how things were supposed to look, and that really, like, was to my detriment, you know? And as I've been able to, like, let go and trust the timing of my life, I'm just, like, I have so much more peace and freedom, and I'm just like not in fear, and I'm not worried anymore, you know?
Can I ask, how do you stay there? Because I've been there, and it's beautiful, and I love it, and life is just on a whole different level, but then I regress.
Well, okay, my belief about this is, like, I had that experience too. Like, you know, I had, like, a little bit of freedom the first time that I did the steps, but then I did not maintain my spiritual condition, you know, and, like, but again, like, I just wasn't capable of doing it on my own power, because I was still operating from my own power. I wasn't going to God. I wasn't, like, praying. I wasn't working with other people. I wasn't doing these, like, very simple things that are asked of us to do.
Yeah.
And so then eventually all of the stuff compounded again, right? I started to become resentful. The resentment stacked up. I started to, like, remove myself. I started to take back my will, and I started to, like, make decisions out of fear. And then that's how I got to the place where I was, where I hit that emotional bottom.
Right.
And I didn't know how to really ask for help, and I just felt like I had to completely start over. And fortunately, I didn't drink or take a drug, because that probably would have, I don't know what would have happened. It's Russian roulette when I take a drink or a drug, you know?
Yeah.
But fortunately I didn't. And then I was able to, like, go through this work again in this way, where now it's just like I can't urge anyone enough to just do it, because now it's just like, I look forward to waking up in the morning and, like, you know, getting on my knees and asking to be a channel for God's will, you know, and saying the affirmations and doing the visualizations and, you know, petting my dog while I, like, meditate, you know, like, these things are things that I was just like, I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning for, like, most of my life, like, literally since I was, like, 8, you know, I was like, another day. Why do I have to do this? This sucks, you know? But now I have so much joy. And I think that it's like being an athlete, though. It's like a training, you know, like, we have to, like, be committed to doing these things, and it does get easier, right? Because it builds on itself, like the muscle memory of it, you know. And for a long time I was just like, oh, is this even working? Like, you know what I mean? There was all of this still, like, fear and doubt and all this kind of stuff, but that's, like, that shouldn't be a deterrent. Like, that's natural, right? Because we're rewiring the whole way that we live and function in the world, right? Yeah. I mean, at least that was my experience. Like, I had to, you know, kind of, like, dismantle 30 years of this negative thinking, even in sobriety, you know? And, like, it's not like I didn't learn things over those years that I was sober before I had this spiritual experience, but it was like, it all kind of compounded on itself. Yeah. You know? But I think, it's about, like, a dedication to having a practice and maintaining the spiritual condition, you know? And, like, again, it even says in the book, when in doubt, work with others. So, like, just, like, being helpful and not thinking of ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
Like this morning I got a call from one of the girls that I sponsor, and she's like freaking out about this. And I was like, it's beautiful, right? Because I go like, oh, I'm so grateful that like I don't have anxiety anymore.
That you're not there.
But I used to, and I understand what it feels like. And I like love that I have this beautiful life where I can just like go walk half an hour over to her apartment with my dog and meet up with her. And I'm just like, yeah, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to go to Santa Maria Novella and buy some candles. You know, like, not that, whatever. I mean, but it's just, it's like, it's such a joy and a pleasure that I get to, like, live in the world the way that I can now, you know? And that's all due to maintaining this spiritual condition.
So what things do you do to maintain spiritual condition? You pray, you meditate?
I pray, I meditate. I'm really into doing like visualizations and activations. So just like seeing, well, I don't believe that, like this is like out there, and I feel like we're talking about like AA stuff. Like I don't really believe that time exists at all. Like I believe that there's just different versions of ourselves, and they like exist in infinity in the universe, and it's kind of like we're just like this existence right now is just an old manifestation of the things that I used to believe. And that like, so I try to connect to this like self that has all the things that I want, and I feel like that's kind of the concept of like being a co-creator with God, if that makes sense. And like I needed to do all of that work to clear, again, I keep talking about clearing this channel out so I could hear that true deep intuitive voice, which I believe is God, which lives in all of us. Like, and but I have to train myself and get really quiet in order to trust that voice and hear that voice and just like depend on it with absolute certainty. And like that's where I was talking about our dreams and inspirations earlier. Like I think we have those for a reason. And so the part of like being in God's will and not our will is more that it's not that like we can't desire these things and want these things and do them and then just be like, well, I hope it works out. It's kind of like, it's a genuine more like I'm going to take the action to do these things, and then like I'm not going to focus on the why or the how or the when, because like this infinite power is so like much bigger than our human comprehension. And like we can actually like we can literally do anything we want, and it's actually wild. Like it's our imagination and like the way that our dreams and the way that we see things, like they can be reality if we believe that with absolute certainty. Like this is just, again, like I said, I'm like really into mysticism.
I love this so much.
But only because, right, I did the work to clear all this stuff. I never would have ever, I would have been so like in fear and doubt and nothing's gonna work out and da-da-da. I went to this screening last night, actually, and the people, like, all they were talking about was all this, like, lack. It was just, like, I can't get money for, you know, my movie, and it's so hard to make movies now, and indie filmmaking is so hard, and there's no money, and everything is hard. I was like, no! I was like, I had to stop myself from, like, you know, speaking out accidentally. I was just, like, and in my head, I was like, not for me. But I used to believe that too. I believed that for such a long time. I felt like you know this about me. Like I was just like, I don't understand. Like I had this belief, like I was like, oh, you know, like I know that I'm doing all these things and I'm talented and da-da-da and things will eventually work out. But I still like was so focused on the want and the lack and the longing for those things, you know? And when I stopped having those feelings and I started being in the gratitude and the feeling of like I already have that, like that already exists. I'm waiting for this 3D reality to catch up with that. It changed everything for me. I'm like, oh, I'm so blessed, I'm so free. You know, I've already made my feature film, you know, I already have a fucking movie studio. You know, like I started thinking about things in those terms, and I'm just like, wow, I feel really good all the time. So I don't know. I'm just waiting for it to all catch up. Like that's the mentality that I have now. And it's so much better than before. Like, even if I'm, like, gaslighting myself and I'm delusional, great. Love it, you know? It's so much better over here.
100%. Yeah. I love that so much. I'm going to start doing that.
It worked. No, I mean, it really works, and it's totally, like, working out. Like, where in the beginning you're just like, why the fuck am I doing this? This sucks. It's so hard. I don't want to wake up, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, you become addicted to the feeling, or, like, you know what I mean? It's like you get a Pavlovian response. You're just like, oh, this is good. This is good, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing this.
I'm very much in the lack right now.
Yeah, and it just takes time, you know? Again, it's like any habit, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. I'm like, I think it's 21 days to break a habit, and in 90 days to form a new habit.
I think so.
So just gaslight yourself that you have everything you want for 90 days, and then tell me what happened.
I love that so much. I love gaslighting myself.
Yeah. Like, because I feel like I was, but in the reverse, in, like, a negative way before, where I was just like, everything is so hard and my life has just been so challenging. And it's just like, all of that stuff is valid. Like, I did experience, like, crazy trauma, and, like, I have, like, complex PTSD, but, like, also, well, I can't really get into this, where I'm just like, I just decided, I was like, I'm healed from that. Like, that's not real for me anymore. Like, I'm not engaging
decided
with
that?
Yeah. I was just like, that's not my story. I was like, no, like, I'm healed. I'm good.
See,
like, I spent so long in therapy, and honestly, I have to say, like, psychosomatic therapy is really cool. Like, where you're like, okay, on this side is, like, me, and I'm safe, and my little crystals are over here, and this is, like, all the bad things are on that side. Like, there's some kind of psychological thing that's really amazing about that. I mean, I can't speak on it in any kind of, like, legitimate way. I just went to psychosomatic therapy for a couple of years, and it really changed my life. But in deciding that I no longer have complex PTSD and I no longer have trauma, it's like, I really decided it. I was like, I don't have that anymore. It's gone. Like, with complete certainty. And, like, that's been one of the realest things for me in this process, where I was just like, oh, I know that this works. So this can work for anything. This can work for my career. This can work for my life. You know, it's like...
Well, it's similar to, like, Eckhart Tolle talking about the pain body, and how when you attach, you know...
No, I don't know about this.
Oh my gosh.
What?
You should read this. It's very similar to what you're talking about. Eckhart Tolle, he talks about, like, these narratives we attach ourselves to, and it's called the pain body. And if you step outside of the pain body, you can let it go.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Like, that's the thing is, like, and that's what the 12 steps are all about too. It's just like, I created the stories. Like, that was all of my own making. Like, I was living in a delusion that I created the stories. I wrote all of it. So why can't I write a completely different story and live in that delusion and not become my reality?
100%.
Like, I can. So, but to get out of that, like, whatever, the fear, the resentment, the pain, like, I had to do those 12 steps in order to, like, even be able to receive this kind of information, for it to, like, compute in any capacity.
100%.
You know? And, like, if you have a stronger self-concept, or, like, if anybody does, like, good for them, and that they can do it without this, but that was, like, that was, like, the base level for me, right? It's just, like, doing this work, and now all these other things have been able to, like, snap into place, you know? And I'm like, no, it's real. Like, it's so real. Like, there's only one truth, and it's just, like, the love and light of God. That's what I really, really firmly believe, that we're all interconnected, you know? And that's, like, why I can interact with people that I really used to find so repulsive and offensive, you know? Like, because I'm just like, no, like, they're literally all just very attached to their human avatars. That's what I think, too. That they're just like, I'm like, oh, I'm just a human in this life. Like, my soul is just, like, embodied. Like, this is, like, my technology to function, is my human body, you know? And I just think, I mean, so many of the people that come into our lives, the animals, so, like, every experience that we have, I believe that, and all the adversity that we face, it's a lesson. And I could not see that before. You know, I felt like everything was happening to me and against me. And now I'm just like, no, all of that adversity happened in order for me to be moved to this place, like, where I can hopefully be useful to other people and, like, act out the talents and gifts that I was given and put onto this earth to, like, offer. Again, to keep offering to, like, the collective, because we're all connected. So
This is perfect and so beautiful. And is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, is there, like, any other questions, or
There's
I don't know.
I could talk to you for like 7 hours. There is one last question in the 5 minutes we have left.
Okay, sure.
I ask everyone this: what does the idea of being a comeback kid mean to you, and in what ways are you a comeback kid?
Oh, wow. I mean, I don't even know if I was coming back from anything. I feel like it was just, like, really bad. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like I fell from grace. It was like I don't ever think I had any grace to begin with. But I, you know, like, I think this idea of being a comeback kid, it's like, the way that I felt about myself and about the world and about life and these really concrete ideas that I had, like, they have completely melted and dissipated. And, like, I am just, like, a complete, like, people can change. Like, that's what I think meaning of being a comeback kid. Like, people can radically change. And, like, when somebody says, like, oh, yeah, people always do the same, they'll never change. It's just, like, that's not true. That is not true. Like, I have seen, like, the most fucked up, crazy, wild people, like, literally lead the most, like, beautiful, productive lives. And I think that that's, like, the gift of sobriety baseline. You know what I mean? Like, we're all, like, if we get sober, again, like I keep saying, like, we have an opportunity to do this work to radically change. And then I think that changes the whole vibration of the world. You know, like, I really firmly believe that. And I think that addiction and that kind of stuff, and whatever, trauma, it can seem like a curse, you know, like, but it actually can be just like the like, just beyond a blessing, you know? And so, yeah, that's really what it means for me, is that, like, people can change. And I think that's really important. And I also believe that we're in a time, like, where more than ever, human beings are receptive to this ability that we can change. And I think it's just, like, we are born and we, like, know this information, and we are free and we are love and we are all connected. And then, like, we just, like, kind of begin to believe this lie, like, we're conditioned by society to, like, be separate from and be apart from and associate with all these things and you know, have these resentments and these delusions. And it's like, we're remembering who we really are, you know? And I think that, like, the blessing of addiction is that if it gets so bad, we have to do something about it, right? Where most people don't have to ever come to these kind of realizations or get to have these experiences, you know? I think it's really cool that's, like, our soul's journey is to, I don't know, hopefully, like, help elevate the whole vibration of humanity. I mean, I don't know if that's, like, super lofty, but I think it's true.
I love that. Let's end on that note. I have to open this up.
Okay. I love this purple. Okay. Also, I love how they do that on these cards. It's like a little rose at the top, you know? It's always really cute. Okay, of course it's dogs. Where's Bruce? Oh my god.
I didn't find a Bruce dog in there.
That's okay. Aww.
Wait, also, are you engaged?
I love you. I'm engaged.
Dude, what?
Okay, no, because I haven't been on social media,
Okay.
and I really had this.
That's great.
It was really funny how we got engaged too, and Pietro was like, "You can't tell anyone until I get you a ring because I don't want your parents to think that I'm cheap." Because he like proposed to me with like a placeholder ring. It was like his grandmother's wedding ring, which was really sweet and way too big, and I couldn't wear it.
Okay.
But he got me this ring, and it's so pretty. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And so I just decided to like be old school. I was like, I'm either going to send out a card to everyone soon and tell them that I'm engaged.
Yeah.
Or just like when I see everyone, because then it's fun and exciting.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To like not tell anyone and then they see it.
It's
They're like,
new
wait,
every
what?
time. Yeah.
So it's like, it's fun. And so I'm
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so exciting.
I'm really happy. Okay. Well, I can never open these things like gracefully. Oh my god. Wait, do you know that I literally have this hat? No, but okay, it's amazing because I was gifted it like a couple years ago.
Damn.
And then no.
Did you lose it?
No, I'm so happy
Okay.
because I'm like a freak. Like I buy like 4 pairs of the same shoes.
Okay,
No. So I was like, what am I gonna do when the hat is too fucked up and I can't wear it all the time?
That
And
makes
now
me
I
happy.
have like
Okay,
this
good,
this couldn't be a more perfect
Okay,
gift.
cool.
Also, like this is so me. Like I'm literally like always wearing a Yankees hat.
Okay, cool. Okay, good.
Thank you so much. That's like a perfect gift. For
Okay,
me.
cool.
Thank you. I'm really grateful. Thank you.